From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Arizona activists taking a stand today against a bill to ban transgender athletes from competing in women's sports.
Plus, taking aim at gun safety, the message presidential candidate Mike Bloomberg is sending as he campaigns across the state.
And the Phoenix City Council approved a rate hike for trash and recycling services. We'll break down the numbers and show you just how much more you'll be paying.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Jordan Elder.
And I'm Brady Klain. Thanks for joining us.
It's LGBTQ Lobby Day at the state capitol, and activists are pushing legislators to take a stand against a bill that would ban transgender athletes from competing in women's sports.
CJ Chides talked with one former professional athlete who's showing her support. CJ?
I was able to observe the training where people learn the process of what it takes to become a lobbyist, so they can meet with lawmakers to try and turn the tide against this bill.
This is like a wind sail.
Christiana Hammond has a busy day ahead of her. As the director of finance at the organization Equality Arizona, she actually deals with a lot more than just dollar signs.
And we have set up appointments with various representatives that represent their particular district. And the community members will meet with each one of them and talk about certain issues that we have on the agenda this year.
This agenda includes the recent proposal of House Bill 2706. Republican Representative Nancy Barto introduced what she's called the Save Women's Sports Act. If it passes, all interscholastic and intramural leagues in Arizona would ban transgender female athletes from competing in female sports.
It's highly discriminatory, and it's based out of fear, based out of a lack of understanding, and that is why, again, we are here. The main reason we're here is to educate the legislators.
Andrew Morrison is the father of 11-year-old Marilyn. She came out as transgender 5 years ago, and since then, Morrison said it's been a transition they've all had to go through as a family.
My wife and I have kind of adopted kind of a mantra, which is we circle the wagons and you're either inside the wagon circle or you're not. And it's as blunt as that, just because this is our daughter we're speaking of.
The topic of discussion is personal for those in attendance at the event. Bobby Lancaster understands Barto's perspective when it comes to her proposed bill, but the former professional golfer believes current policies regarding the issue are already doing their job.
Sporting organizations have wrestled with this, and they've come up with very fair-minded policies. And that's the International Olympic Community, the NCAA, even our own AIA here in Arizona, have very reasonable policies to make sure that that playing field is as level as possible.
Once the lobbyists against 2706 conclude their meetings today and speak to the representatives, including Speaker of the House Rusty Bowers, tomorrow the bill will be presented to the House floor, where it will then be decided whether or not it should move forward for further amendments and eventual approval. In the newsroom, CJ Chides, Cronkite News.
We want to hear from you now. Should the state legislature pass the bill prohibiting transgender females from competing in sports in school? So far, over 300 of you have voted in our live interactive poll, with about 60% of you saying no. It's not too late to join the conversation. Just go to our Cronkite News Twitter feed to weigh in.
As part of Mike Bloomberg's campaign, his Get It Done Express bus is driving to several locations across the country, discussing issues like gun reform, health care, and climate change. The Democratic presidential candidate's bus made a stop at the state capitol in Phoenix, one of several Valley locations it visited. On this particular stop, the topic discussed was gun safety in Arizona. So far, Bloomberg has picked up endorsements from Arizona legislators such as State Representative Cesar Chavez and Representative Jennifer Longden, among others.
Gun reform, gun safety as a major platform for us because of the things that happened in Tucson with the congresswoman shooting, the things that have happened locally. I mean, you just see it left and right? And so that was really a no-brainer for us.
Bloomberg's campaign has focused on Arizona as a potential swing state during the upcoming 2020 presidential elections.
Arizona Republican Senator Martha McSally officially launched her campaign in one of the hottest races of the 2020 election.
So much more we have in common with each other, even as we are deeply divided right now. We need to bring down the cost of prescription drugs, stop the flow of illicit drugs and human trafficking, and make sure that our veterans get world-class mental health services. Those are just a few things I think we can agree upon in a bipartisan way, but there's so many more.
First television ad, which began airing today. It ties rival Democrat Mark Kelly to liberal members of Congress and the leaders of the Democratic efforts to impeach Trump and remove him from office. The ad also says Kelly is too liberal for Arizona. Kelly said after the Senate trial, he would have found Trump guilty of abuse of power and impeding the congressional investigation. McSally said the president acted inappropriately, but his actions were not impeachable.
A federal appeals court ruled a 2016 Arizona law barring anyone but a family member or caregiver from returning another person's early ballot will stay in effect while the state appeals to the U.S. Supreme Court. The law, nicknamed ballot harvesting, will remain in place through the March 17th presidential preference election. Only Democrats are voting in that election after the Republican Party chose to forego a primary appeal. A primary appeals court found last month the law violated the Voting Rights Act and the U.S. Constitution.
Phoenix City Council voted yesterday to raise the rates to keep the city's trash and recycling services.
Cronkite News reporter Caroline Lynch explains what this will mean for you when it comes to your bills over the next few years. Caroline?
Your monthly bills for trash and recycling will start going up in April to maintain current service levels. The move comes 2 years after China cut back on how much recycled plastic, fiber, and other waste it would accept. That's cost Phoenix millions of dollars in profits from solid waste. Right now, people who live in Phoenix pay about $27 a month. But starting in April, that rate will increase to almost $31. And by January of next year, it will go up again to about $34 a month. The Phoenix Public Works Department held dozens of community meetings over the past 3 months, and their online surveys found that 58% of respondents preferred to keep all recycling services, no matter the cost. In the studio, Caroline Lynch, Cronkite News.
Coming up next on Cronkite News at 5 is the side effect of the coronavirus panic: racial bias.
Many Asians say yes. We'll tell you why they believe they're being othered.
And a look at the political push to provide better health care for moms and their babies after the break.
Ready to watch the best of PBS anytime, anywhere, on nearly any device? It's easy with the free PBS Video app. Simply download the PBS Video app on your mobile or streaming device. Now you can watch the latest PBS episodes or catch up on the shows you missed. Discover new favorites from PBS and local content from your PBS station.
The weather around Phoenix is just beautiful today. Let's take a look at the weather around the valley.
Thank you for joining us for the special edition of Cronkite News.
Here are the top stories that we're tracking today at noon.
Some of the best players for their program.
Hey, I'm Rick Steves. You know, I don't go anywhere without my passport. And now, thanks to PBS Passport, you can travel with me and watch all 10 seasons of Rick Steves Europe and all my travel specials. This exclusive streaming service is just for our members. Not only can you see all my shows, but you can see thousands of hours of your favorite public television shows. Become a member today and get your passport.
Every day I wake up, my first thought is, how can I serve this community?
The biggest hurdle was not taking PTSD personally.
Would you welcome, please, the amazing.
Everybody that watches this, they say that I am the greatest that they've ever seen.
The spread of the coronavirus in the United States is fueling baseless fears and bias in Arizona against Asians. Experts say it's common for some people to be targeted during a public health crisis of this magnitude. Cronkite News reporter Christian Sita talked to experts and some members of the Asian community who say they have felt shunned based on misinformation and why it happens.
Those I talked to say history repeats itself. One expert even says the treatment of some Arizona residents could be called a humanity crisis. Says it started with whispers when she sat down to study with other Arizona State University students.
I could tell that they started to be really uncomfortable. Like they started getting really tense. They started whispering to each other.
Dang is Chinese American. She says people got up and left her alone at the table.
An incident like that hasn't really happened to me before, but I could tell that it was because I was Asian and because of like the news about how a case at ASU got out that had someone that had the coronavirus.
She's not alone in feeling the stigma. Chandler engineer Paul Berdonato says he is concerned about being profiled by airlines.
So instead of flying to LAX, I'm considering just driving to LA instead.
Evan Wynn at ASU says students have been sharing their stories about their encounters with ignorance.
Yeah, based on stereotyping and profiling, and it's also just been a trope specifically with like this paranoia and racism and xenophobia with disease.
Bias against groups that represent those most affected in a public health crisis has happened time and again.
Our country also experienced certain incidents because of certain disease outbreak or certain virus. For instance, 1990, the HIV/AIDS incidences, the gay community were subject to stigmatization in terms of they are all blamed for the virus and the disease.
Lee also says bias occurred in the early 2000s with SARS and again in the 2010s with Ebola. People blame these groups as being the source of disease, and the targets often are people who belong to racial or sexual orientation groups.
They are visible. And people already have stigma against them in any possible way.
That means a public health problem can turn into another kind of loss.
The outbreak of the virus is really a public health crisis, and I really think we as population in this country and in the world community should not make it become a humanity crisis.
She says those who start to turn fellow human beings into faceless others should learn the facts.
Should rely on scientific solution for prevention of future and the cure of this current virus outbreak.
Dang says instead of turning away from Asian Americans, turn toward awareness.
I think it really ostracizes an entire community, and I don't think that's right in any way. And again, instead of making assumptions, we should have open conversations about it.
ASU President Michael Crow issued a statement Monday that says the university is committed to inclusivity and encourages students, faculty, and staff to, quote, diminish the impact of misinformation, unquote. In the studio, Christian Sita, Cronkite News.
A series of proposals from 2 Republican senators would boost funding for programs designed to increase care for new mothers and infants. The proposals announced Tuesday include providing dental care to pregnant women on the state's Medicaid program. It also includes adding tests for 2 potentially deadly disorders in newborn screenings. Together, the proposals would cost about $18 million a year.
And we are clearing things out as our storm system moves east, but one more chilly night tonight. I'll show you how cold will be getting in just minutes. With wildfires, a scarcity of water, and other environmental issues facing the Earth today, it's critical to stay up to date with local impacts of a changing climate. That's why we created Elemental, covering sustainability, a multimedia collaboration between public television and radio stations. From climate change to water conservation to renewable energy and much more, Elemental covers the latest in sustainability news. Find our stories on our website, elementalreports.com.
You'll find there's never a dull moment in this house.
Welcome to Downton.
This house has no secrets.
Downton
is catching up with the times we live in.
This calls for a toast.
It makes you want to jig about, though, doesn't it?
Heavens, we are quite a party.
Oh, goody, goody.
By the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Before Professor Halden, I had an insane amount of passion, but I almost felt helpless because I didn't know how to use it. Professor Halden gave me a chance to make a difference. Being at a place like ASU allows you to take these big leaps. Ultimately, the biggest problems in the world cannot be solved alone.
The Costco at Christown Spectrum Mall in Phoenix is reportedly shutting down this fall. It's located right near 19th Avenue and Bethany Home Road.
According to AZ Family, the company offered to move many employees to different stores.
And apparently some people are not too happy about this, taking to social media to share their thoughts.
There's even an online petition to keep the store open. So far, over 900 people have signed it. So Jordan, they're petitioning to keep Costco open. I personally am petitioning to keep the rain out. Is that going to happen?
I agree with Jordan.
I agree with you too. And the rain, I think, will stay out of our forecast. High pressure is going to build in, but that storm that brought us rain and snow on Monday, it has quickly intensified and it's causing some headaches for our friends back east. Let's show you this. As you can see, that storm will continue to move its way up to the northeast. Lots of rain and snow is going to come along with it, but behind that storm system is going to come some just downright cold temperatures. We're talking frigid temperatures. Wind chill warnings, wind chill advisories are going to go into effect later tonight for a lot of these spots. These are actual air temperatures for tomorrow morning. We're talking minus 22 in Fargo and minus 10 for places like Pierre and minus 11 in Minneapolis. Now, because the wind is going to be gusting out of the north, as you can see by these streamlines, this is what it's going to feel like tomorrow morning. Minus 44 in Fargo, and Brady, check this out, minus 27 in Minneapolis. So tons of schools have canceled for tomorrow because it is just going to be downright cold. It may not be a bad idea, too, to check up on some of your friends and family that live back in those areas. Now, for us, still a little bit chilly tonight, even in our skies. 30s out to the East Valley for places like Queen Creek and Mesa. 42 right here in downtown Phoenix, but I think we will avoid a freeze here in the valley. But up to the north, we are tracking teens along the rim and for Flagstaff and to the Four Corners region, too. And we'll hit 23 in Prescott and 28 degrees in Payson. And high temperatures in those spots will top the 50s and 60s. 68 right here in downtown Phoenix. And we'll go with 49 in Flagstaff and 50 degrees at the Grand Canyon too. So here's what it looks like hour by hour for tomorrow. Bit of a chill in the air tomorrow, 40s. So make sure the kiddos, especially the little ones, have those jackets and coats tomorrow morning at the bus stop. We'll be back up into the 60s by noon, and we'll get into those mid to upper 60s just in time for the afternoon. So let's fast forward now to Valentine's Day. That's taking shape here on Friday. And Jordan, Brady, we can probably call this the world's largest box of chocolates, right? And besides the chocolate that is just inside of it, you're going to love what is also in this box as we got your forecast for Valentine's evening there. Temperatures there at 6 o'clock, 68 degrees, and we'll fall off into the lower 60s through the 8 o'clock. So those dinner plans with your Valentine or your significant other look to be really nice as we head into Valentine's Day. Here's a look at that 8-day forecast. In fact, hey, we're going to top out in the 70s for Valentine's Day and continue that too into the weekend. 72 for Saturday, 73 for Sunday. You know, Brady, this is the 5th weekend in a row with highs in the 70s here in Phoenix.
You know, we're highs in the 70s, but in Fargo, it's what's negative 40 wind chill tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning, and they probably won't even crack or get above freezing, or above zero, I should say.
Makes you feel good living here, right?
Tomorrow morning. Yes,
really
this is why we live
can't even
here.
imagine. Up next, the national movement taking place to help minorities get jobs in the medical field.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
The people are saying they're not happy. Do you accept that?
Irrational people are not often convinced by facts.
Okay, well, let's talk about people you hate, though.
You've said that categorizing yourself is a terrible mistake.
That's pretty controversial.
Well, it's the truth.
Weekdays at midnight on Arizona PBS.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles. In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem.
Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
Hey, I'm Rick Steves. You know, I don't go anywhere without my passport. Thanks to PBS Passport, you can watch all my travel specials. This exclusive streaming service is just for our members. Not only can you see all my shows, but you can see thousands of hours of your favorite public television shows. Become a member today.
Cronkite Noticias is the Spanish-speaking division of Cronkite News, covering topics such as economics, education, sustainability, immigration, and border relations. Cronkite Noticias strives to serve the Spanish-speaking community in Arizona. Under the guidance of prominent Spanish-speaking professionals, students at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism develop content for our broadcast partner, Univision, as well as on Facebook and Twitter. Explore Cronkite Noticias at cronkitenoticias.azpbs.org.
There's a push here in Arizona and nationally to encourage more minorities to pursue medical careers to help address health disparities.
The number of Native Americans in medical schools and serving as doctors is especially low. Cronkite News reporter Tyon Marshburn traveled to Oklahoma to examine one initiative that's had success.
As two-lane highways transition to gravel and dirt, Piper Long's farm in Skiatook, Oklahoma looms in the distance.
We're in the middle of pecan harvest here in Oklahoma, and this tractor here is set up to shake the trees to help the pecans fall down to the ground so that we can pick them with our other tractors that have pickers hooked on.
Long isn't just a farmer, she's a mother of 3 and a medical student at the unusual age of 40. As an enrolled member of the Osage tribe, Long is one of the small number of Native Americans pursuing a career in medicine.
Growing up, I didn't have anyone in my family or anyone that I knew in my community who was in healthcare.
Oklahoma, home of the country's largest Native American population, is embarking on a partnership to address that disparity. Coming soon, a medical school on Indian land, the first in the United States.
Having a medical school on tribal property is unique, and I feel like it's going to improve healthcare in these rural communities and for our Native population.
Native Americans make up 2% of the U.S. population, but a mere 0.7% are enrolled in medical school. In terms of those who go on to be doctors, Alaska Natives and American Indians represented less than 1% of physicians in 2016. That's about 4,000 doctors of more than 700,000 people.
It's exceptionally important from a health disparities point of view, all right, to encourage individuals from rural and underserved communities to seek careers in medicine and to go back into those communities and serve.
Fugate mentors students like Long at Oklahoma State University's medical school in Tulsa. The facility is a leader in recruiting and training Native American students.
Here at OSU's Center for Health Sciences, students work on mannequins like these that are able to bleed and breathe. The mannequins are controlled by the students' instructors, and it allows them to get a hands-on experience before going out into the real world.
Student Brandon Posthook is a member of the Chickasaw tribe.
I grew up with a lot of, I guess you would call ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. We have substance abuse in my family, we have overdoses, we have pretty severe mental illnesses. And so Those are things that are kind of dear to me and are close to me, and so those are one of the things that I really would like to address.
Once he graduates, he hopes to treat other Native Americans, something he never saw as a child.
As a kid, you know, we would go to the hospital, and never seen one native-looking doctor, and so it was kind of like, for me, it made me think that natives didn't become doctors because I didn't see any.
An hour's drive from the medical school campus, a new facility would bring this kind of training directly to Indian country. This day, leaders of Cherokee Nation have gathered for a grand opening of the largest tribal outpatient health facility in the U.S. But just down the road, an even bigger accomplishment. Construction is underway on the new branch of OSU's College of Osteopathic Medicine.
It is a great opportunity to increase that pipeline of physicians right here. I mean, we know statistically that a med student will practice within about 100 miles of where she goes to medical school. And so what that means is we put those statistics in our favor by creating a medical school in this unique environment.
The new campus is a dream come true for these students, Native kids who are a part of a high school club for those interested in careers in medicine.
A lot of us want to stay where our culture is at, and there's not very many schools around us, like in Tahlequah, obviously this is the first one, but a lot of us have to go out to search for what we want.
The goal is to enroll up to 50 students in the first class and hopefully inspire more Native Americans to pursue medicine, something many have long seen as out of reach.
A young person today can realistically say, I want to be a doctor and I want to take care of my people, but I want to do it in the Cherokee Nation. They can do that now.
That's it for Cronkite News Tonight.
Have a great night.